son. Where'd you find this?
Buckle up, buttercups. It's time to get down to business. It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. Totally legit. Now, here are your hosts, Clint and James.
Hello, hello.
We did it. Here we are.
Well, welcome to hell, everyone. You are tuned into the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. We are your host. I'm Clint.
And I'm James.
And that is James.
I'm James.
We missed a week. Sorry. I know we received hate mail because of it, but it's okay.
Yeah, we sent it to ourselves, so it's not a big deal.
It's my fault. It's I had a lot of work things going on, and then I worked myself sick. It's also sniffle season here in Seattle, so if you hear a little gruffness in the voice, that might be what's going on there.
Getting jazzy. Yeah, you've been fucking pushing it to the limit. You've been going nonstop,
dude.
Every direction.
I feel insane. I had my 90-day review for my new job today. It was 10 minutes long, and my boss was just like, "Yeah, you're just fucking crushing it. You just need to take care of yourself." I was like, "Good call, thanks, bud."
You know what's crazy when your boss tells you?
Yeah, he's like,
take care.
He's like, "You should chill, man." He's like, "How many things do you do?" I was like, "Way too much, man.
Way too many.
What's going on with you, man? What's going down?"
Just about the same. Just still trying to dial in the computer situation. I keep running into little pitfalls. Every time I try to sit down and do something, I get sidetracked by like 9 other things that I need to do to accomplish the first thing I sat down to try and do. And by the time I get to the point where I could do it, I've forgotten what I was trying to do. So I just get up and leave.
Welcome to my life every day, living with attention deficit disorder. Every day is a new day for me. It's great.
Well, yeah, that's kind of freeing in a way, you know.
Speaking of mental disorders, we do have a new, by the time this goes up, like tomorrow or the next day, a new Blast Cells song will be out on our label Modern Grievance.
Sick.
Gonna be super dope. I got to make this trippy ass video for it, like a little promo video. It's so fucked up. It's awesome. But yeah, like psychedelic hardcore punk shit from Seattle. Super dope. Definitely check out Blast Cells, and we'll play some like in a later episode. But,
yeah, once we get it out there, once we put it out.
But yeah, man, we got I heard someone knocking on the back door there. What we have a special guest today?
Oh yeah, we got a longtime friend. Right, there's very few people in my life that I can say I've
stand you for more than a year.
That can stand me for as long as this person has stood me. But this is my longtime buddy, Benny fucking Holmes. Oh yeah! Welcome to this particular corner of hell. How are you doing, bub?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's really good to see you and talk to you and see your glasses.
They're so big, you can't miss them.
It's a lot of glasses. Yeah.
Are those the Goliaths?
The Ultra Goliath?
The Ultra Goliath? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. You know you're a badass when you take all your fashion tips from Goodfellas and Casino. Like, you just see James with like the most ridiculous sunglasses and white leather shoes.
Yeah, honestly, people. It's funny though, Clint. You watched it. You saw it. Like, and this is a funny little bridge. Benny might remember when I was in middle school. I moved there from Florida, and I didn't like wearing pants. And I would wear shorts.
You were the kid in Nebraska that's like, it's not that cold.
Yeah, seriously. I would wear shorts as often as possible until it was no longer physically possible for me to do so. Like before it was too cold.
No, he's sort of abridging this because not only would you only wear shorts, but you would also only wear like work shirts, like button up janitor shirts. That was it. Those were the two things you wore. Like January, 20 below. That was what you're doing.
That was it.
Yeah. That was it.
The irony of exclusively wearing work shirts when you don't even have a job, you freeloader.
Seriously, I was such a fucking freeloader. But I guess the whole reason I'm saying that is because like when I think I want to do something, that's it. And I just commit to it and that's what I do. Clint, you witnessed the white shoe thing.
Oh yeah, like, I'm a white shoe guy too. I don't know if you rubbed off on me, but
well,
it's clearly superior.
Okay. the white loafer thing, I was working at that shoe. What was that place? It was like the factory where I would pack boxes that
it was
would
like
go.
the Journeys that would go to like Journeys and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Like
Yeah,
it was
I remember that.
the warehouse that would distribute to a bunch of different shoe retailers. So I would get like a pretty mean discount on shoes, and they had this skate shoe that was the Dawn, and it was a white loafer. And I guess around that time too, like we had just been watching Casino and Goodfellas so much. I don't know if I've ever had an original thought. I think all of my thoughts stem from a scene in Goodfellas.
Your
or
internal
Casino.
monologue is just Joe Pesci at all
No,
times.
definitely. 100%. 100%. You know, it is most of my reality, but I wanted to do that. And the only reason I don't wear the white shoes that much anymore is because of my knee.
But see, they make old man like white shoes with the Velcro on them. My grandpa had some. I can see where he got them if you want.
You see where this is going. And
Yeah.
there's like a certain point too where I'm going to get old and my body's going to be fucked and it just won't matter. So I'll start wearing white loafers exclusively again, except I'm going to have many more pairs because I won't be able to hunch over the sink and clean them.
Just make sure you only wear shorts to show the varicose veins.
Yeah.
And a work shirt now that you're retired.
100%. Full fucking circle. That's where we're going here, guys.
There we go,
Full
baby.
fucking circle.
You can get those like 3 foot long shoe horns. That's what you need. You just need those things to slip them on.
Yo,
Yeah.
call me crazy. What the fuck is the point of a shoehorn? Maybe I'm just not fancy and I've never had a shoe that needed a horn.
We just discussed it. It's for old fucks who can't bend down to get the flap out from under the bottom of their shoe. They hold the flap back with the horn and put their foot. It's an old. Listen, it's an old thing. You ever saw an old person use a shoehorn?
Like they bought it from the door-to-door shoehorn salesman.
No, seriously, bro. Back in the day, it used to be so much simpler. Like people's letter openers were nice. They had like this whole thing on their desk that was like this ivory, fancy wood carved thing that held the thing that they stabbed the letters with to open them.
Right.
Like that, everything was nicer. I bet you there was some asshole in every fucking town in America with a very nicely carved shoehorn. That was his favorite shoehorn. Not the only shoehorn, but his favorite.
The shoehorn.
I'm surprised nobody like wore their shoe horns still in their shoes.
It's never too late.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
James, I feel this trend coming on.
Listen,
buddy. I feel like
listen.
you need to start it.
I will have zero problem with that. People hated it when I started wearing those white shoes, and then it became a thing where everyone would recognize me because of them. It was like the party didn't start until the white shoes came in. There was a period of time, there still is a period of time where people hate these glasses. And when people hate them, I love that. I love it even more. One time, oh my God, this is hilarious. I was working Boston Calling, and this was not this pair, it was a different pair that I lost, but it was this pair and it was just sunglasses. And I would wear them driving artists around at this festival. Basically on a festival site, I'm wearing them 24/7 because I'm sitting in the sun. I'm standing in the sun. I go into the Queens of the Stone Age trailer and their manager is like giving us the brief because we were driving them to stage that night. And he starts talking and he looks at me and he goes, "Take those fucking glasses off." It's fucking hilarious. I just, I can't help but laugh.
So if anybody needs a personal stylist, James is available for you. Or you can just watch Goodfellas.
Watch Goodfellas.
Find your grandfather's shoehorn.
I think I want the manager of the Queens of the Stone Age to be my personal stylist.
Yeah, I love somebody with the gall to tell James to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I need that.
Yo, Benny. So Benny and I just met 5 minutes ago.
Barely.
And 10 minutes now. So we go way back.
Okay. Sure.
Where are you at? Are you in Nebraska? Are you in, I don't even know where you live. What's going on?
I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Sick. Stinking Lincoln, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Where I met James, like 20.
It was a long fucking time ago.
Years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still here. And it's beautiful out.
fuck
I
you.
have cats
It's raining
walking on
so
the
hard.
keyboards. Is it? Oh, really? That's surprising.
I live in the Pacific Northwest. It's
Right.
fucking always raining. Always.
So, how do you and James know each other?
We went to Middle Tennessee State University together.
College, yeah, down in Tennessee.
Hey.
Yeah, we talked about it in a previous episode. They stuck all of the like not music majors that are like classical violinists, but like all of the like music marketing and audio production people who are just fucking wastoids. They stuck
Total
us all
fucks.
on the same floor and expecting nothing bad to happen. And there's a lot of issues. I got kicked out of that dorm. A bunch of our friends did too. It was real fun. It was a good.
It was
time.
amazing. It was chaos.
Wow.
It was chaos. That
James,
entire
though,
time was just
real
pure chaos.
Straight laced fella didn't get kicked out.
Right, exactly.
Listen,
He rode it to the bitter end.
I'm just passing through here.
Well, but James
That's-
never gets in trouble. That's what I remember.
Yeah, well, listen, that was
he was
difficult. Okay, it was really hard.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Wait, why didn't you ever get in trouble? Did you never get caught, or were you just a good
Well,
boy?
here's the thing. I understood at a very young age plausible deniability, right? And really, here's the thing. If you're going to be on everyone's radar, which I knew I was because I was just an obnoxious individual, I was self-aware enough even as a kid to know, like, if I'm going to be on everyone's radar, I might as well be on their good side. And then if everyone is aware of me and I'm on everyone's good side, I can kind of get away with shit that other people wouldn't get away with because this person vouches for me or that person vouches for me, or I was going here to help this teacher or going here to do this thing. I understood the power. I had two paths. I could be like the total class fuck up who disrupted things and was just the agent of chaos, or I could play it to my benefit.
The Lord of Misrule?
Yeah, the Lord of Misrule. Exactly. I could have done that, but I didn't. I got really smart to that.
You're just a bad boy with a heart of gold, like Sean Hunter from Boy Meets World, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Exactly.
And you had the same haircut too.
Effectively, yeah.
The mushroom?
Effectively, yeah, the mushroom,
course.
definitely. That was actually more in the 90s when I lived in Florida, but I definitely had that cut.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely had that cut. Yeah, see, one thing that I always remember about Lincoln is that it was an awesome place to grow up. Like, yes, it was boring. Yes, it was isolated, but it wasn't that bad. Lincoln wasn't the country. Lincoln was a city. Like, we could go do shit. My bands played at shows. There was an all ages venue for us to go to. Most people lived pretty close to each other. We could walk here, walk there, do this, do that. There was a surprising amount of arts there. And the same thing in the schools.
311 is from there?
311 is from, and at that time, the big thing was fucking Saddle Creek, which is in Omaha. Bright Eyes,
All the
Kylie.
Bright Eyes stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So like big, big enough music scene to keep us entertained.
Every time I think about Rilo Kiley, I just think about like a 35-year-old white guy from Brooklyn crying, like, and probably in the apartment next to James.
Pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. And see,
You know this before you guys call.
it's really funny because the epicenter of that, in the same way that the epicenter of hipsterdom is Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the epicenter of sad guy emo shit is Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things about Nebraska that I didn't fully appreciate until I left, but I definitely remember as a kid appreciating all the things that were going on in Nebraska at that time. Like, we were never bored. We always had things to do, even if we were just fucking around. Like, we always had things to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was just like a couple specific things that we did a lot.
Yeah, a lot. We did those a lot.
To be fair.
But it was the only thing we had for entertainment. What we're talking about is running backwards through cornfields.
Yes, exactly.
Now, that's a thing that we do in Nebraska. That
You just grease each other up, run backwards to the cornfields.
But I definitely. You don't know what you got till it's gone. I moved to Tennessee.
And then you told everyone you were a
oh,
cornhole
no.
champion, and it meant something totally different there.
They didn't
People
know
just
what
love
I
to
was
throw-
talking about, but
People love to throw beanbags into holes.
I was hit at every party.
Pretty cool.
No, I remember, James, I remember seeing videos of you and Benny. Like y'all did some like weird skit show when you were teenagers or something.
See, yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like this,
like jackass fueled shit. I can't remember if it was like
it was a little more composed.
It was more cerebral.
Wait,
yeah.
Wait, Benny.
Man's jackass.
You had.
It's called smart ass. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. That is fucking brilliant. Benny, what was the thing that your brother did? The anti-clarion? Can you explain? Because I think, like, really, when we think big picture, like, why were we even making these skits? It was because, as a kid, what we were subjected to, right. And I feel like anti-clarion.
Yeah, there was like this.
That's really all I remember.
It was the Clarion or something like that, but it was like the Onion. For my brother and his friends did like the Onion for their school's like newspaper, their high school newspaper. But it was
a whole newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a thing they printed regularly.
Like just like goofy articles and shit.
Yeah. There was like one I remember where it was like, you know, this guy and it's like, hey guys, just I'm just a new student here and I got my like Ford out there, my unmarked government issued Ford, and I'm just wondering where the parties are this weekend.
There's one I remember. It was around the time where that I can't remember the kid's name. It maybe Elian Gonzalez, the kid who was
the
right,
Cuban.
Yeah, right. And there's that famous picture of them like pointing an assault rifle at him in the closet. There was a counterpoint in the anti-clarion, and it was somebody saying Elian Gonzalez belongs back in Cuba, and then the counterpoint was Indiana Jones, and he goes, Elian Gonzalez belongs in a museum. But dude, it was a whole spoof newspaper, and I think I remember when I first saw that, even as a kid, being like, this is a lot of effort.
Yeah,
like this I would say it was somewhere between that and watching Monty Python. Why did we start doing the skits? I really can't remember now that we're breaking it down.
Well, we had like a 8th grade multimedia project where we decided to make a movie called A Day in the Life of a Nerd.
That was always the teacher's mistake. We should give these kids new media to work with.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just remember, dude, doing like super fucked up shit just on school time.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Because they're like, here's a computer, do what you want. Like, okay.
Shouldn't have told me that.
Anyway, like long story short, this thing devolved into us running around one of the major parks here in Lincoln. And I had a fake samurai sword. And there was a few other like theater kids who were like basically writhing around on the ground with fake blood while James was
it was savage. Like we were like graphic depictions of people getting shot and throat slit. Like it was fucking savage.
And there's like families and picnics and like 20 feet away from us. So the cops got called at one point.
And it's your like 9th grade project or
no, dude. At this point, we were just making those for us. We didn't even care. There was no grade involved. We were just doing it. I think by that point I'd picked up I'd bought a video camera.
Yeah.
And we had it at all times. And because I'd taken those classes, ITFP, I had the laptop so I could edit. Cool. There was this focus school that was just video and video editing at the very beginning of when this shit started to become accessible.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I lost that one. That's the one I'm really sad about, because that one, I remember that one being the magnum opus. In terms of production, up until that point,
it was your Godfather.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's part 2 right there.
Yeah, 100%. It was the perfect skit. We had done the other ones that were really just you and me. We'd probably had like 10 or 15, and then we did that one, and we had like a bunch of other people helping us.
Right.
But only a small number of them remain because
Dude,
I lost that hard drive, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure that just like there's a one asshole in every city who's just got the nicest shoehorn, there's always just that one group of theater kids that had access to a video camera and time. And dude, I remember like doing weird shit like that with my friends too. We'd like film each other blind fighting. And just in public, like we'd like put bandanas on and just fucking like box.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude. Like, and like Alabama, it's like same shit. It's like in a city, but also like ain't much going on. Like,
Yeah, right.
And look at us now. Look at us. Hey, we got podcasts, baby.
Yeah.
Living it up.
You know, it was a simpler time back then.
James, do we have a Patreon yet?
No,
we didn't even give us any money.
No, of course not. That's the thing. Do you blame them?
Right.
No.
They'll pay for you to take off the glasses. How about that?
Yeah. Take those
Or to end the stream. End the stream now. $100 donation.
Why are you on the shit? What's that video game? Why are you on the Minecraft channel? Fuck you.
No, dude. Yes. Okay. So this is hilarious. When I was first like fleshing all this shit out, I was just streaming. There's like a integration in Xbox. So I was just streaming directly from the Xbox. And at that point in time, I was playing like Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft. I guess Minecraft was the last thing I streamed. So for like the past couple months on Twitch, at least, we've been appearing in the Minecraft channel list. Talking about doing not Minecraft.
And
like, not Minecraft.
There's like
at all.
8-year-old kids being like, I'm going to check out your podcast. Like,
I'm scarred for life.
Fun fact, I got to use Minecraft in a threat to somebody the other day. I said, they just said something fucking stupid to me, and I said I'm gonna get fucking Minecraft and I'm gonna kill you in Minecraft. I was like, we're gonna show up. You're fucking dead.
Yeah, see, it's honestly more concerning because you're not really a big video game person. Like the level of spite that would drive you to buy a console and then buy Minecraft and then learn how to play it well enough just to attack this person and kill them.
To find them.
That's psychopathy right there. That's some psychopathy we can all get behind. Speaking of psychopathy we can all get behind, I think that's a perfect transition to our next to our subject.
Yeah, I think that's a word.
Psychopathy?
Psychopathy. Yes, that is a way that you can pronounce that word that people use.
Right.
Yes,
psychopathy.
It may be obnoxious, but that it is what it is. Okay, this is a subject. This is so funny too, because I was like, Benny, what subject would you like? And he's like, man, I'm not big on any of this shit. Tell me about something I don't know. And it reminds me of the last time we hung out in New York. I think you came over to my warehouse and I made him watch.
Yeah. You have a warehouse?
Yeah.
The old place, the warehouse.
Oh, the converted warehouse that you used to live in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's where I keep all of my white loafers. Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Yeah.
And I made him watch the cremation of care when Alex Jones infiltrated Bohemian Grove. And this was like he had gone on like the nutrient thing. So he had become a caricature, but he hadn't done any of the Sandy Hook shit yet. So he was still like, people were annoyed with him, but they didn't
screaming the frogs were gay. He was just like,
no, he was. That was 2012. He was already saying that. But people weren't really incensed about that as they were about the Sandy Hook shit. So this was before people hated him, is all I'm trying to say. And I just remember making you watch that whole thing.
I didn't know that was Alex Jones until you just said that. I did not.
Really? Are you serious?
At all. Like that he did anything resembling investigative.
No, dude. So that's why that's crazy.
One of the great journalists of our time.
Right, exactly.
No. He's not. He's a fucking character. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning character. That's all he is. And that's like super obvious because all you have to do is go back and watch the very beginning of his career when he was trying to be taken seriously as a journalist. He was on cable, like syndicated networks, Fox on the local affiliate and NBC on the local affiliate, doing these type of investigative things. He was actually in this movie with Keanu Reeves. He's briefly mentioned in it. It was like the first of its kind. It was a movie that they filmed and then they turned everything to like a cartoonized version.
Waking Life. Yeah.
Maybe Keanu Reeves.
Or I know what you're talking about. Philip K. Dick book.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So there was this period of time where like he was respected as somebody who was trying to unearth this shit. The whole reason that I'm trying to explain this is because there's this thing that he spent a lot of time focusing on.
A scanner darkly.
There we go. Thank you. He used to be, before he went total fucking supplement, he used to be 100% information. Where's the information? Why are we not talking about these things? Legitimate concerns. I'm not justifying Alex Jones. I'm not saying anyone should support him. I think he's a fucking batshit nut job. I'm just saying at one point in time, he was saying some reasonable shit. And I just think it's funny that he is the only person to have ever infiltrated Bohemian Grove like that. He got the whole goddamn thing on film, and people were fucking pissed when he did that. Like there's a couple famous clips of him like interviewing congressional senator people in the street. And he basically goes on and says, well, I filmed the cremation of care. You're a member of Bohemian Grove. And these people get like really pissed off. And the whole reason I'm saying this again is because there's a thing that I don't think it's talked about enough. And it's the amount of these secretive organizations, regardless of how nefarious you want to interpret their objectives as.
Fraternal orders
of all kind and of all different focuses. And the people that are in these things, some of them are really, really into it. Now, in America, we have freedom of religion. We have freedom to believe whatever you want to believe. So I'm not saying that anyone should be judged for any of these beliefs. What I'm saying is that when you find these people with these beliefs concentrated in areas of power in industry and politics, finance, you have to be a little bit suspect of that. Okay? Again, we're talking about the idea of people who are elected to represent us belonging to secretive order of subset of secretive order of subset of secretive order that are taking oaths to shit that we're not aware of. We're not hearing the oaths that they're swearing. We're not hearing not only what they're keeping secret, but what they're willing to do to keep it secret. And there's so much integration of that at every level. Despite the long history lesson, like there's a massive connection between the general day-to-day operations of our government and how it's structured and the organization from which all of the founders were a member, Freemasonry. There's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of similarities. A lot of fraternal orders have a lot of similar practices and ways of doing things. This goes deep. It goes deep and it goes at every level, and it's been going on for at least as long as we know in recorded human history. And we're not even discussing the fact that any of them might be nefarious. We're just saying that these things are real. They exist at every level. And the power elite tend to belong to more of them, and they tend to belong to the most extreme of them that exist. Okay? So I don't know about what you guys know. When I say secretive order or fraternal brotherhood or something like that, what do you guys think of? Do you guys know of any? What are like the big ones that come to mind?
Like Skull and Bones and stuff like that.
Skull and Bones, Freemasons. Like who are the guys with the fezzes?
Those are Shriners, but those
Shriners,
are just
thank you.
those are Freemasons.
You know, the guy in the hats, they got the little cars.
Yeah, that's what they are. That's what they do.
Clowns.
That's what they do.
Ice cream truck drivers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely the ice cream truck drivers. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't
they're a
get
very
me started.
scary secret organization.
I don't know. I never got invited to any of them, so I just pretend like I don't care about them. So I'm not going to give them free publicity on my podcast.
Definitely don't. Definitely don't do that. But like even Skull and Bones, for example. Skull and Bones is one of like 100+ secretive orders on Yale's campus that have been clubs for over 100 years. And they have some of the most powerful people that have ever walked the fucking country. The names are just, it's ridiculous. And Skull and Bones is a prominent one. It's not the craziest. It might be the oldest or one of the oldest. And it's got serious influence. But there are a few others that just are equally as influential, and it's crazy. You start you look at the past list of past members, and it's like it's fucking everybody. And that's one school. That's one school, and we can only think of. There's only one other one I know from Yale. It's called Scroll and Key, and it's kind of comparable to Skull and Bones, but
It doesn't sound as cool.
it doesn't sound as cool, and Skull and Bones' history is just way more hardcore.
It sounds like a Zelda game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing about that is that we'll just take these as an example because it's an easy example, but this can be extrapolated against any secretive order or fraternal brotherhood. Freemasonry is the same thing. In Yale, in your year of eligibility, your sophomore, junior year, you'd be selected as a possible candidate, and you'd have to go through whatever their initiation entailed, and then you'd be inducted into the order. And being a member of that brotherhood allowed you the benefits of the brotherhood. If you needed to get information from somebody through the web, that's you were able to speak to them directly. A lot of these colleges, by virtue of them being what they were comprised of wealthy elites, children, a lot of legacy lines, people's, generations of people who had gone there. And it kind of became this stewardship into certain levels of society. And each of those clubs did certain things. Like if you wanted to be a certain kind of person, you'd join Skull and Bones.
Like if somebody, you're like something Vanderthorn the Third. Yeah,
yeah, sure. Or any other douche derivative of that. Yeah, sure, absolutely. But if you wanted to do banking, you'd join this one. If you wanted to do, if you wanted to be a professional athlete, you do this. If you wanted to be a professional musician or a writer or journalist, those clubs have historically, and we could probably take this back to Europe too, in the same way that like a trade, apprenticing in a trade shop would be the funnel into pursuing the career that you want to pursue. But this was just like the nepotism version of that. How do we bypass decades of learning a skill? Let's just give it to somebody I know. That's the MO here, right? So like even Freemasonry is supposed to be this thing where you let's even think of Freemasonry, not even the club, Freemasonry, stone layers, right? Yeah. Way back in ancient times, the at that time, incredible mathematics that allowed people to understand how to work stone was a coveted knowledge. And that knowledge was only given to certain people, right? You had to typically apprentice under a master for your whole fucking life to get to the point where you would be bestowed with that knowledge, proving worthy. After a lifetime of proving worthy, you get bestowed that knowledge. And that's how those things pass down in trade guilds, blacksmiths, stonemasons, whatever whatever. That's how that information would funnel. As it applies to like the club Freemasonry, it's not necessarily just people who work stone, but the conceptually it's the same thing. It's how do we I'm not going to be laying stone, but metaphorically I am the stone. How do I work my stone, me, into the best and most reasonable version of what it can be? And metaphorically, the principles of Freemasonry guide you in doing that. And again, this is shit that would kind of translate to any secretive or initiated order. The thing that you're learning in there is supposed to be some type of internal, process of growth or I don't really know where I'm going with this at this point, but go ahead, unpack. And what have I said? What does it make sense?
Well, like, I guess you're like talking about Alex Jones and that camp. I can't remember the name of right now.
Bohemian Grove.
But, and then compared to like Skull and Bones or those other stuff. But to me, like, I don't, like, you have all these like trappings of ancient rites and weird stuff, but really it boils down to, it's like a combination of a club where people can hang out and get to know each other, like just a social networking club, and with like a hint of sort of, executive training.
Sure.
Stuff.
I
don't like, to me, that's really like, I feel like the idea that these things like breed powerful people is their own propaganda about this stuff. And that like the sort of like how Skull and Bones is attached to all these influential people has a lot to do with the fact that Yale is a really expensive, prestigious school. And that's what's going to happen when you have people passing through there.
No, a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Sure.
I think it's like when you're talking about stuff like this, it's always like the first like 20 minutes of a cult documentary where you're like, this looks dope. It's not that bad, right? It's just like they're just hanging out, they're growing their own food, hanging out and helping each other. It's great. But you get 30 minutes in and you're like, wait, why are there so many guns? That's the whole thing, right? Because you see on paper, it's just like, oh yeah, it's like rich people that go to schools. But like, think about the people that are super duper rich in America. They've been rich for a super long time for the most part. Sure, a crypto millionaire like James, but
right.
But like steel industry and banking industry, like that gas, money oil stays in those families. Yeah, like so those people are probably just like inbred fuck faces, but like but also just they've been rich forever, so they have history and influence, like regardless of whether or not it was just, hey, what's up, the cat ran across the street, regardless of whether or not they have this influence that you're saying, they do though, like what I mean, like these people employ people and can and know things, and they have influence on
100%. I think what Benny's trying to say is that a lot of this now seems like a very pretentious display, right? The nepotism at Yale, that's going to happen whether or not there's secret clubs there or not. People are going to get jobs because daddy knows somebody else. That's how this shit works. Skull and Bones is irrelevant, but Skull and Bones is a way for them to be self-masturbatory about it. It's a way for them to be like, not only am I elite, but I'm extra elite.
I'm just thinking about he's like I'm Bjorn Vanderpump the Fourth. I'm a shoo-in. Like
All right, now get in the coffin while we all piss on you and take a shit on your chest. Get in there. So I guess I agree with you there.
Is that what happens?
Nobody knows, because nobody knows. Skull and Bonesman has described exactly what happens, but the prevailing theory.
You think they're
the prevailing theory is that they get into a coffin, and the ceremonial rite is divulging a secret that they would never want told, something that would be very important to them or destructive to their family's name or reputation, and that's the leverage. That's the ante. I give you this, and we'll protect you. We'll help you succeed in whatever you're trying to succeed in. But if
like
you cross
Scientology.
us,
Yeah.
it's Scientology got, where do you think they, bro, L. Ron Hubbard. Okay. Pause.
First 30 minutes of that documentary.
Pause.
So dope.
Pause. No. They left out the first actual 30 minutes of that documentary. We'll come back. Remind me before we're done here. We've only got 20 some minutes before we're done. We have to go back because there's an interesting overlap. So I'm gonna. All of what we said was a good a preview here. Big core concept that I'm trying to get away from is that most of these clubs are benign completely. The membership is not about some nefarious shit. It's just like Benny, what you were talking about. Self-masturbatory, executive networking training camp. It was social media before electricity.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
guys hanging out, teaching each other lessons.
well,
eat,
and
drink.
again, the founding of this country, it's baked into the American experience differently than everybody else, because in America, the founding of our country came out of this. They were meeting in Masonic lodges. They were having Masonic meetings. This is how they were able to do all this shit in secret. The Boston Tea Party, a Masonic lodge dressed up as natives to throw the tea off the ship. That was a Masonic lodge. It was organized by a Masonic lodge. So this shit is baked into the American experience, and I think that's an important context, because the next thing I'm going to say might be weird. With every layer, there's another layer, right? It's like an onion. You crack an onion, you pull a layer off, and you're like, oh, it's another layer of onion. And you cut that layer, and you're like, oh, here's yet another layer of onion.
It just goes. You do every time you cook an onion.
Every time. I say this every single time.
It's not an egg.
I have to.
You don't crack it open.
I don't tell me how to fucking cook, okay? This masonry is a good example. So you become a mason, you have to pass the degrees of testing: first degree, second degree, third degree. When you're a third degree, you're Blue Lodge, which means you can go into any lodge in the world, Blue Lodge, depending on who chartered your lodge, United Grand Lodge of England or the United Grand Lodge of France. They have different rules, but it's effectively the same. It's the same teachings, but the lodges chartered by France can have men and women, and lodges chartered by the Grand Lodge of England have to have it separated. So women belong to the Order of the Eastern Star. There's a couple other, there's one for kids. It's like Boy Scouts, Knights of Demolay, I think. Anyways, after you become
Sounds
a
like
mason,
a condiment.
Yeah. You put it on a hot dog. After you become a third degree Mason, you can then take a further Masonic education in the York Rite or the Scottish Rite. York Rite is an additional 4 degrees, and it focuses on the purpose of preserving Christianity and defending Christianity.
Boo.
There's four degrees, and that's called York Rite. Then the opposing side to that, the opposing train of thought, is the Scottish Rite, and that's 32 degrees. When people talk about being a 32nd degree Mason, is because they've witnessed the 32 degrees of the Scottish Rite. When people talk about being a 33rd. 33rd is the highest thing that you could be decreed in Scottish Rite, and it's a high honor, typically only reserved to people who have achieved some type of major life achievement, some real addition to humanity. It's like the Nobel Prize of Freemasonry. But there are an unknown number of other Masonic organizations that you could belong to. Now just think about that for 1 second. Your whole life, maybe you heard Freemasonry. Your whole life, maybe you heard 32nd degree. I don't know if you've ever heard about York Rite. But to think that maybe in one of these organizations, there's a subset of an unknown number with who knows what as their purpose or explicit intent. Now, from my experience with these things, 50% of the people, modern context, they're there just to have fun. 25% of the people, they're there to have fun, but they're also serious about it. And the other 25%, they're really serious about it. So when you or I go to a church, we witness a ceremony, and we take in the metaphorical interpretation of what that is, we don't literally think that literally this is literally what's happening. We're not literally interpreting that. We're understanding that we're there for ceremonial purposes, and the purpose of that ceremony is to metaphorically unpack the beauty of God or whatever. I haven't been to church in a while, but you get what I'm saying. Not everyone thinks that.
Not even on Easter.
And he is risen. Okay. He's risen. Not everyone thinks that. And some people get really serious. And for me, like Bohemian Grove is a good example. The reason that the people that go to Bohemian Grove don't want people to know that they go to Bohemian Grove is because they do weird shit in there. And the videotaping of the cremation of care, that was just a very simple taste. If you look back at what presidents have said about shit that goes on in there in the past, it's not some stuff that they would want out in the public. That's why I become a little bit more wary when the power consolidates into these clubs, and then these clubs have no real oversight at all. And who's to say that what's occurring here isn't bleeding out and affecting all the other shit that they're supposed to be doing in the public, in the open, with some kind of accountability, a written record, documentation, so that we can filter through with the bare minimum of Freedom of Information Act. I'm going to take you back to a strange time in the history of the country. It was the late 80s. There was a lot of weird things going on. One of the things that was starting to bubble up in the country was this thing called the Satanic Panic. And the Satanic Panic was this period of time in the late 80s and the early 90s where everyone was just scared of Satan. There were cults sacrificing children everywhere. And there was, like the West Memphis 3, those 3 kids who got accused of murdering those boys, they got lumped up into that. They listened to metal, and they were in fucking, Alabama? No, Memphis, Tennessee. They were in Tennessee.
No, Arkansas. West Memphis, Arkansas.
So they were in Arkansas, and just because the Satanic Panic was so prevalent at that time, people just immediately assumed that these guys listen to metal. They sacrifice these kids, and the reality of that situation is probably one of their dads. But this was just a big thing. And around this time, an enigmatic individual emerges to share his opinion of the New World religion. And his name was Michael Aquino. Look at this motherfucker.
Wow. Look at those eyebrows.
They're
It's
intense.
Like he did with his eyebrows what I've always wanted to do to my mustache.
Yeah. He really nailed it. Now, Michael Aquino came out of the Church of Satan. And he came out of the Church of Satan because he felt that LaVey had kind of...
gone soft.
Yeah, kind of. Really? But he was concerned that LaVey was now corrupted by money and was willing to give priesthood to anyone who donated a certain amount to the Church of Satan. And he splits off and he starts his own thing. Now, what's interesting about this is that at one point, this Wikipedia page was much longer, and it has since been whittled down. And Michael Aquino also used to have his own Wikipedia page. Oh, this is Rational Wiki. Okay. But Michael Aquino's Wikipedia page is now gone too. Here's Temple of Set's real Wikipedia page. This is him with his wife. The thing that's interesting about him is that
beyond his eyebrows.
The thing that's most interesting about him is that Aquino was a military intelligence officer specializing in psychological warfare. In 1969, he joined Anton LaVey's Church of Satan and rose rapidly through the group's ranks. In 1970, while he was serving with the U.S. military during the Vietnam War, Aquino was stationed in Ben Cat in South Vietnam when he wrote a tract titled Diabolicon, in which he reflected upon his growing divergence from the Church of Satan's doctrines. Anyways, he goes on to conduct a ceremony in Wewelsburg Castle, founding the Temple of Set. Now, if you don't know what Wewelsburg Castle is, It is a formerly Nazi stronghold, and it was where Himmler had the secretive initiated rite of the SS. I think I don't know if it was the Vril Society or if this was their own thing, but they have this very famous room where they used to conduct their ceremonies, and this is like high dark arts shit that the Nazis were doing. This is like fucking real. That's what's funny about these things is like we say them and they sound so outlandish, but this is beyond real. They were really doing this in here. The Death's Head ring, that was part of, to become a member of the SS, you had to go through the initiation in this. It's got the black sun on the ground.
If you thought we were going to get through a whole episode without talking about Nazi conspiracy shit,
not a fucking chance.
Sorely mistaken.
Not a fucking chance. Not a fucking chance. But anyways, he went there to perform the ritual to bless his new order, his new undertaking. This guy was serious. He was fucking really serious about his beliefs. And for a long time, he was in the military and high rank doing psychological warfare. Now, the reason that becomes interesting is because there's a very specific overlap between Skull and Bones, a few other secretive fraternal organizations, and the beginning of the CIA and counterintelligence. And it is rumored that Skull and Bones and a few others were used as a picking ground for people who would then become instrumental in the formation of the bureaus that focused on counterintelligence: CIA, NSA, Bush family. That list is crazy, but the Bush family, they're big ones because so many of them, Prescott, HW, and his son. I guess the real point that I'm trying to get at here is this person was in the military and they were advancing when I was young, I used to get pissed that all the people in our government who were like super hardcore Christian, I was super questioning. I was like really concerned. Don't they want the apocalypse? Like, aren't they willing to usher in the second coming? They're not afraid of death. They're not afraid of the catastrophe because it's in their book and they actually think it's going to happen. They're not afraid of it. Those people have their finger on the button. But by that same respect, there are people in our government who are thinking totally different things, but they're just as savage about their pursuit of enacting it in the world. Okay? So this is the perfect time. Go, yeah.
That was a good
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. This is a good point. We'll dovetail on Scientology and then we can button it up here. But fucking Scientology. This motherfucker lived in a house with this guy named Jack Parsons. Do either of you know who Jack Parsons is?
No idea.
He sounds like an author.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is Jack Parsons, another individual with a sick fucking mustache. But basically what he started became the Jet Propulsion Laboratories, JPL. The studies that he was doing with rocket technology, that was kind of a dovetail of,
I thought von Braun was like one of the founding guys.
He absolutely was.
Yeah.
Jack Parsons. Okay, so during the war, there's actually, so we bring all those Nazis over,
right,
from Project Paperclip, and there's an interesting overlap there in that it is thought that a lot of the very strange psychological experiments we started doing as a part of MK Ultra in the 50s, 60s, and 70s were just continuations of Nazi scientists' research. Because what we did when we took all those Nazis over here is we said, we'll let you stay. We won't prosecute you for war crimes, but you have to give us all your information, and you have to, if they wanted to continue the studying, they did. Von Braun gets put in charge of NASA because that's what his specialty was. It was rocketry. At that time, no one knew anything about rocketry. The Nazis had just developed it. It was a very new thing. And we had just, we kind of got the best guys at it. JPL was kind of doing its own thing, but they were advancing the agenda of the rocket age. How do we successfully and consistently launch rockets, and how do we add payloads to them? He was instrumental in the development of the A-bomb too. This guy was also a hardcore occultist. In fact, on most of the rockets he launched, and on one of the A-bombs, he fucking would put sigils. He would like conduct a magical ceremony to bless the thing before it did. Like, he was fucking serious about this shit. Now, I'm not saying he summoned a demon when that bomb went off on the thing, that the sigil that he created, but in his mind it did. Like, in his mind, he was actually doing this. He had this house in Pasadena, this mansion, and he would have these crazy orgiastic parties, and it was, OTO in particular is like a sex magic. That's their whole thing. It was Aleister Crowley's initiated order, and it was all about sex magic, and it was big at the point in the 20s and 30s in America. A lot of people were into this, into that.
Who doesn't? It sounds awesome.
Yeah, and back then there wasn't much to do, and people were loving doing it. Jack Parsons invited L. Ron Hubbard to live with him, and it was after L. Ron Hubbard lived in this mansion and would take drugs and do these magical sex ceremonial magic ceremonies that he decides the only way to make money is to found a religion, and he starts Scientology. So this is what I'm saying. That's how dangerous this shit is. And when you look at the areas at which, the levels at which it occurs, it becomes very frightening. That when these people take this shit that seriously, and their mission becomes the enactment of my will at all costs, that's exactly what that means. And it's scary when that person is helping develop a bomb that can kill millions of people. So all I mean to say by this entire fucking tirade of me yelling at you guys is that
these work for the stonemasons.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have Mission Impossible.
You wouldn't have Mission Impossible.
Benny, I have a question. Yeah. Has James always yelled at you for an hour about Nazi conspiracies once a week?
Exactly what happens every time I talk to him.
There's always a point in our episodes where we're just having fun and we're 20 minutes in, and then James goes, "Okay, let's talk about psychopathy, sex magic, and the Nazi bomb sigil that unleashed the demon of Dianetics upon the world." And then somehow we end up on somebody in a coffin.
And like, look, I fully accept that this shit sounds crazy. Like, out of context,
know so much about it.
And this is the other annoying part. I fucking read, Clint. That's it. I just read these things. They exist, and I read them. They're one Google search away, and I find it and I read it. That's what happens. It's very strange that more people, not only that they're not aware of this, but that they're so resistant to it when I tell them about it. Like, this is a fundamental piece of existence on this planet, in this space and time, and it has been for as long as this country has been around, at least. And we can pretend that it's not, but that would be stupid, because when you look at the list of the people that have been a part of these things, when you look at the other things they do in their personal and private agendas, it's all advancing a goal. And some of these people have enough influence and resources to actually enact it. So you have to be wondering, what's their fucking goal? Now there's like many different layers to this onion that we do not have time to go down. one thing we didn't even get to is the Omaha bank scandal, or the Dutroux affair, and those are very famous high-level political scandals where people at the highest level were being abused, or were being accused of the most heinous acts against children, and there were some receipts, and magically some people die, and these people never get held accountable. But this is real shit. The Omaha bank scandal happened in Nebraska, dude.
Huh.
It was a big fucking deal in Nebraska in the late 80s. There's actually an amazing documentary called The Conspiracy of Silence, which is also a sick fucking band name. But that documentary is savage as fuck. And all I'm saying is that some of these clubs, they ain't so nice. And some of these motherfuckers, they're really serious about it. And if in their club or in their mind, sacrificing something or anything stood in between them and them getting what they wanted, they'd have no qualm with it, because it's the religion that they have accepted. They're fully invested in it.
I mean, part of what I'm getting from what you're telling me is that maybe they're onto something. Like, if they're performing all this magic, and they're super successful. Like,
look, it goes back to what you were saying before. Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Right.
Or is what they're doing in some way, in some twisted way, does it help enact their will? Or is it just they've been able to do this for so long that it's just part of the procedure and they can do it without the procedure, but they need the procedure to justify it, or to which came first, though, is the question. Right. You know what I mean? What's
interesting to me about some of what you're saying, though, is that, like, it kind of makes sense, and B, it's almost become accepted. Like, you're talking about the idea that these people would sacrifice, you know, and if they're doing, you know, disturbing rituals that are hurting really real people, you know, that's horrible. But to me, the idea that a super high level politician is willing to sacrifice somebody they don't know to get something they want, that's, yeah, of course. That happens all the time.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
Yeah. I guess what's weird about it is that the idea that the super, you know, these rings of powerful, influential people that all know each other and are all in on this thing together, that's, you know, the idea of these clubs and these fraternal orders, you know, that's just like, they're the means to an end.
Sure.
And I guess it's sort of like a thing of, you know, at this point, is this an infrastructure that is so baked into our lives that is it, you know,
this is what I'm trying
to do about it.
This is, and there's nothing to do about it.
That's literally what I was gonna ask. I was like, "What the fuck are you gonna do about it?"
There's nothing to do about it. But you kind of crack open the egg that I was trying to crack open this whole time, in the sense that, like, this is the true nature. Like, this is the real nature of it, and this is a thing that can be proven. That these, like, most of these clubs, even though they're secret, a lot of their membership is open. Some people are kind of overt, saying, "I'm a member." You know, I'm super into it. With how it is now, it's more pageantry than anything. You know, back a couple 200 years ago, maybe these things were actually used to transmit secretive information. And I mean, it for sure was during the beginning of this country. That's how this country began. That's why all those founding fathers were Masons. They were able to communicate effectively in secret. And really, all the club doesn't offer you guaranteed success. What the club offers you is a little bit of security and being tapped into the network, and the fear of complete repulsion if you're no longer in that network. And it's a good control mechanism. So even if you're a high-ranking member of a very prominent family, bro, someone can still stick the fucking thumb to you. Like, nobody is untouchable, right? There's always another layer to the onion, and this is a way to not only ensure certain people get into certain places, but that they behave the exact way you want them to behave.
So it's like, what you're saying is that obviously the Bushes are in power or have power.
And they are known members.
The guy who ran the orgies for them, like, is he trying to, are there people behind them that we don't know about that are, trying to steer things? Is that what you're trying to say? Like that there's
I personally don't think there is a small cadre, a small room of people who are pulling the strings. I don't think that. I think what we have is a number of groups of people, and this has been reflected in history as throughout recorded human history, groups of people with loosely aligning ideas of how they want the world to be, and the gears grinding in whatever way to achieve that means.
That sounds dangerously like this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I don't know if there's much organization to it. It just so happens that all rich people want to look out for their money.
Yeah.
It just so happens that all rich people don't like poor people. They're real scared about if poor people come take their money. It just so happens that their interests align. But they're not in there's not like some ultimate puppet master pulling the strings. Yeah. No, I don't think that. But what I understand about any institution, and by institution, I mean school institution, financial institution, any business or corporation, the institution protects itself. Why doesn't the FBI want to talk about all the times it's fucked up, like at Ruby Ridge and in Waco, Texas? Because that'll damage the reputation of the institution. And there are people in there that know the fucking dirt. There's people there that witness those things and understand the fuckery. But they have to obey with, they abide by what the organization's stance on it is, and the organization will always protect itself. And that is a basic action of a basic human being at any point in history. I want to conserve my power. I want to maintain the control of perception, and I'm willing to fucking bend my own moral code in order for the good of the institution. Churches, bro, the Catholic Church, another prime example. We'll just move priests around. We won't get rid of priests. We won't admit that there's a child abuse problem in the Catholic Church. We'll just move the priests around. Institutions just protect institutions. And any of the things that we've discussed today have been around for hundreds of years. They're fucking institutions. So none of this is supposed to be scary. This is just, in my opinion, I would rather look at things for what they are than pretend that it's something else. Right. And when I see pageantry on TV, I know that's bullshit. I understand that is just a show for us so that we think they're doing something. When in reality, the real business occurs for other different reasons, because they're being fucking lobbied by this person or that person. They got major campaign donations from this person or that person. It's just a fucking show. And this explains my reasoning that it's just a show, because the consolidation of power and the channels that this allows for interdisciplinary groups of people to conglomerate money, means, and ability. I don't know. It's just something really interesting. And the Temple of Set that one got ensnared in some pretty gnarly shit during the Satanic Panic, like some real nasty shit. But it's, again, like, was he a high-ranking member of the military and psychological warfare because he was in this cult? No. He was in the cult because he was a high-ranking member of intelligence. and he focused quite intently most of his life on the perception, manipulating the image, mesmerizing people, presenting them with one idea to make them think another. That's counterintelligence.
If you take one thing away from this entire conversation, get a few friends together, start a few rituals, get a little weird, maybe film it sometimes, get mad if other people film it.
Definitely.
Have orgiastic sex magic parties. And then, just try to have fun and make your own cult. If the cops get called, then start your own cult. So
start your own cult. Start it's your religion. You start your own religion. It's not a cult. No one belongs to a cult. If you ask any member of a cult, they're not going to say they belong to a cult. No one belongs to a cult.
Maybe that we got to just break new ground with that. Just start with the cult.
Yeah. I belong to this cult.
Exactly.
I'm calling it a cult. Yeah, but you can only be a member if your great-great-grandfather was a member, so.
Right.
Guess we're all out. Wah, wah. All right, well, Benny, I want to thank you so much for joining us and listening to me yell at you guys. And we'll have you back on. We'll pick another subject, and I can scream at you about that.
Yeah, one day, Benny, come back, and we're just gonna yell at James for like 40 minutes.
I would love that. I would honestly love that.
Yeah, I can yell at you guys about UFOs or peanut butter cups.
We haven't done one about the UFO peanut butter cups in a while, so it's perfect. It's so perfect. All right, well,
this was really fun. Thank you, guys.
No. Thank you, sir. We have been Clint and James, Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. We're out of here.
This has been the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast with your hosts, Clint G and James Oliva. Executive producers, Clint G and James Oliva.
That's obnoxious.
Sound design, mix, and master by James Oliva.
Literally no one cares.
For more Totally Legitimate Business, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Totally Legitimate Business or add us on TikTok at TLB Pod.
When will this end?
Thank you for listening. Now get back to work.
Move it along, buddy.